Janae.
And I feel like sometimes I cry.
All right, Janae.
Cause I feel so good to be alive.
Summertime 2020.
And there's not a doubt inside my mind
Give everything a second to get going.
that you're still here, right here by my side.
It's a vibe.
Yeah. I can't wrap my head around what's happening.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for peeking in. This is Dr. Alauna, trauma psychiatrist. And happy Thanksgiving, y'all. We almost at Thanksgiving. Somebody send some food over here, please. Something. Drop it off on the doorstep. No, please don't. Let me. No, thank you. I have my own. But I wanted to go live today to offer you an opportunity to get my thoughts on the Red Table Talk that Will Smith did recently about his conversation with Janet and how that applies to trauma. So this is my gratitude gift to you for everything that you all have been for me for 2020. This has been such an incredible journey, such a traumatic journey where I think so many of us are experiencing very real traumas. So I actually have really been enjoying some of the conversations that are happening recently. And by the way, please share this video. I'm going to go through in this video, I'm going to go through the Red Table Talk that Will did and his conversation with Janet Hubert. And I'm going to break down some of how I see the perspective of trauma and where all of us can do work, especially this Thanksgiving, especially in this time where so many people are hurting. There are very real things that we can do to address trauma. And hey, families are coming together, whether virtually or in person. And there's a lot of really sticky subjects that need some healing. So I'm going to use Will. Thank you, Will, for being an example and allowing people to really see your pain, because it's painful to have these conversations. Will said that there is nobody else on earth that he can think of who would be this upset or angry with him. So this was big for him to talk it out in front of the world. But that's what the Smiths say that they do. They say they put it out there so everybody else can learn and be an example. So check this out. Before I forget to do it, please like, follow, subscribe, all that shit. I be forgetting which terms to use, but y'all know what I'm talking about. On your favorite platform, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, please subscribe and get more of this information from me, Dr. Lana, breaking down trauma for you. So the first thing that I want to do is kind of summarize like the background of what was going on. I am a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air child. I grew up in the era where Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was on television, and it was definitely a transformative show from my childhood. So I remember when Aunt Viv came back and all of a sudden she looked a little different. And I remember being like, what happened here? And, you know, the show went on, but definitely it hit the headlines that they were having, that they had an issue. And it certainly, I remember hearing that she was fired. Janet was fired. I remember hearing some of the rumors about the conversations that were going on back and forth, but I honestly didn't hear the conversations. I wasn't listening to the radio shows and following like that. So I didn't really hear a lot of the vitriol. I just knew that she just disappeared sort of unceremoniously. And I thought it was interesting, but hey, the show was still funny and I still love Aviv, and they were still a great cast. So, you know, over the years, we started to hear these things pop up in the news where they would make comments about each other. And in particular, I did see some of the video in 2018 that Janet posted, and she was really, really angry. Like, that's all I remember from the video off the top of my head was like, whoo, she's pissed. But then on the other hand, I started saying like, well, you know, if this is how she was behaving in that space, then how much of this has she contributed to herself? So, you know, of course, none of us know what the other person is going through. That's why I say empathy is so freaking important. Now, I know that there's a lot of people who are like, Dr. Lana, I'm empathetic. I care about everybody and everything. I cry every time I see somebody else hit their toe, So what are you talking about, this empathy thing? Well, empathy is not just about connecting to other people emotionally and feeling deeply with other people's emotions. Empathy is being able to also see another side of reality that is very different from yours, yet is still true, yet it still exists, yet there is misunderstanding and things that are coloring their behavior that you cannot see because you are having a completely connected, disconnected experience from that other person, meaning that you're going through the exact same thing, but on your side of it, it looks and is experienced this way. And on their side of it, through their brain, through their experience, through how they're taught to interpret the world, it looks very different. And all of us are built this way. So please know that you too, my friend, are not exempt from trauma and from the impact of how trauma causes you to look at the world. So let's dive into Will talking a little bit about his traumas. Let me get this rolling.
Well, Smith, I haven't been in this seat before. This is my first Red Table Takeover. Something big happened, and I want to share it with you. I found myself in a bitter, painful feud. After 30 years of not speaking, there's nobody on earth that would say I hurt them that bad. I sat with the Fresh Prince's Aunt Viv.
I just wanted to know one thing. Why?
Psychologist Dr. Ramani helps me figure out how I got here.
You took psychological punches.
From deep childhood wounds, my father beat my mother, to the key things I've learned. That's not who I want to be. How to heal broken relationships.
How to heal. Hey, hallelujah. Y'all gonna get my commentary on this too, okay? Yes, making amends.
So sound, this could be good here. Maybe try that right there, that'll work, we think. Mic check in the mic.
Yes, I will. I always gotta set it off before he get going.
Mic checking the mic. Mic checking the mic. Okay, good. Gail doesn't do it like that. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having this conversation. I think it's going to help more people than you think.
Yeah.
I hope.
Well, that's what we do here. We expose ourselves
in the name of helping others. So yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't been in this seat before.
How's that feel?
A little Red Table Takeover. Brought myself to the Red Table to talk about something that has really troubled me for nearly 30 years. Joining me is Dr. Ramani. She's a brilliant clinical psychologist and a trusted friend of the Red Table. This year was the 30th anniversary of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And my painful situation was around the Fresh Prince. I had a feud, a war of words that I'd been in with someone that I never thought would get resolved. And really until recently, I didn't know how to even begin the process of reconciliation. I really could.
Listen, how often do we think that we cannot heal these wounds? How often do we have those situations where we're like, no, there's just no way that person and I can sit in the same room and have any kind of conversation without, you know what I mean? Like there's so many circumstances that we have difficulty resolving. Why? Because when these emotions get going, this amygdala right here, it's going to pop up. There it is, that amygdala, that part of your brain that creates emotions, which are very powerful urges that you will feel manifest in your body in different ways. You have to know your amygdala to understand that it is the only barrier to you really working out and addressing things with other people that you have experienced these traumas with. Now, that to be fair, our amygdalas have been driving the bus for going on millions of years now, if you think about how humans are designed. And it's tough to wrestle. So let's watch Will wrestle his a bit more. Ooh.
And see myself celebrating without really dealing with this.
30 years is your whole adult life. That's a heavyweight to carry.
Nobody on earth. At 21, I felt like I was on top of the world. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was a hit.
Now this is a story
All about how my life got turned upside down. My life is
Janet Hubert was cast as my Aunt Viv. She was 34 years old, an accomplished actress and dancer who had come to the show from Broadway. At first, we were all just one big happy family.
Those Friday night tapings were a lot of fun. We'll get revved up. The audience would get revved up. It was awesome.
But as time went on, our relationship soured, and I handled it poorly.
He was young. He was out of control in his own way. He had all this power.
I was loud, and it was always 20 dudes from Philly banging music.
There was a need for me to have professionalism on the set because I was used to it.
Well, honey, listen to me.
I wasn't sensitive, and ultimately it felt like I wasn't kind.
I would sit in my car some nights and not want to work.
I felt like Janet hated me and hated doing the show.
The misconception of me was that I was haughty, difficult, wanted to be the star of the show.
Things got more tense, and the decision was made to reduce her role.
They offered me this really bad deal in the third season to, I think, sort of put me in my place. So I said no.
In season 4, Janet was replaced by Daphne Maxwell Reid. Janet blamed me. Then our private disagreements went public.
They went after me like red meat.
On a radio interview, I said that Janet wanted it to be the Aunt Viv of Bel-Air show. Over the years, the war of words escalated. In 2018, Janet released this video.
Well, make no mistake, this video is for you directly. I will not go to my grave feeling that questions have been unanswered or misconceptions of me that you put have never been dealt with.
No way did you ever say I was fired. The only person who said that, sweetie,
is you.
The vomit that you spewed, I still reek of it. The one thing I do regret in my life was ever taking that role to have worked with someone like you. I wish you had thought about my family.
Ouch.
I wish you had thought about the consequences of your actions.
I've never actually seen that. That's the first time I've ever seen that. I've never watched it. You know, people have said to me, don't watch it. We had a cast reunion. I wanted us to seek healing, and I knew the first phase of that healing was me understanding what she experienced. So I asked Janet to sit down with me, and we sat down. Dr. Romney was on set with us that day in case Janet or I needed some assistance to be able to make our way through. After 27 plus years, this is the first time that we ever sat down.
Now, let's process that just for a minute. 27 years of pain, 27 years of separation, 27 years of two people who really had a loving relationship that turned into so much separation, so much loss, so much devastation, because people do not do a very good job of recognizing other people's emotions and their own emotions in real time. Why? Because we ain't been talking about that shit. Okay, so first of all, let's even look at what Will said. Like, when that went off, he took that breath and he was like, whew, right? And when you listen with my psychiatrist's ears, I hear, first of all, let's remember that communication is 80% nonverbal and 20% the actual words that you say. So remember that in every word, and they are very important, you are not only communicating the actual words, they're coming out of you and going into the other person, but when they make it to the other person, they have to be interpreted. And that interpretation is usually not the words that you actually use, it's how they interpret what they interpret you to mean with those words. And with that comes an emotion. And sometimes with that comes pow, that internal psychological signal that comes from your somatosensory cortex. There's a part of your brain that registers emotional pain in the very same way that it can register physical pain. And you do not have to be hit to feel pain. So you see Will sit back like, damn, like that, and people told him not to watch it because they knew that it would hurt him, because watching that video, you can see how hurt and angry she is. She's seething. She is pissed. Like, I would not want to be in the room with that person because she is very angry. And she's not yelling, she's not screaming, but her words are sharp and she intends them to be sharp. And they come flying out and they smack the people who are listening. And so we recognize these internal invisible signals, but we don't understand that they're actually attached to mechanisms in your brain that you have to learn to control. Let's get back to it.
Yes. Thank you very much. If you need anything at all, let me know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tell me my eyes go like a raccoon. They sometimes do.
Your eyes look spectacular.
Better. You too. Where are you sitting? This has been tough.
Yeah. For sure.
Well, has it been tough for you?
Yes, it has.
Yeah. Only you know and I know what the truth is about all of this. I just wanted to know one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why so far? You guys went so far. I lost so much.
I think it would be helpful for me. Like, I don't know your story.
Come on, high five. Get the story first.
I know.
Good job, Will.
So talk me through, because I was having a different experience.
As
Amen.
the one that said, you know, there's that respect level that I just needed to have of being an older woman and a Black woman. We have our issues.
Mm-hmm.
I've been banished. And they said it was you who banished me because I didn't laugh at your jokes.
The term
Then
banished.
they ordered me to stay in my room.
Hey, Dr. J.
I couldn't come out on the stage. And I wasn't unprofessional on the set. I just stopped talking to everybody because I didn't know who to trust. And the whole negotiation thing was messed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You guys offered me something I had to turn down. And I was like, why?
Absolutely. And
Did you know that they offered me 10 weeks of work and said you can't work anywhere else?
I didn't know specifically what the offer was.
10 weeks.
And I knew that you would turn down the offer.
How do you survive with a mortgage and a new business and a new baby and a husband who wasn't working at the time?
Mm-hmm.
How do you survive?
Yeah.
So much of what you said just destroyed everywhere I went. And it just beat me up. We lost our house. I lost everything. Reputation. Everything. You took all that away from me.
You took all of that away from me.
With your words. You know, words can kill. You know those words, calling a Black woman difficult in Hollywood is the kiss of death. And it's hard enough being a dark-skinned Black woman in this business. Angry Black woman, that's all I got. Bitter. But what you didn't realize either, that I was going through a lot at home.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You didn't know. You guys didn't know. Very abusive marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I had a new baby. He was 3 months old. So I felt like there was no sanctuary anywhere for me. Family disowned me. The Black community disowned me because he wanted to bring it up. Yeah. It's like, what about that Fresh Prince thing? What about Will Smith? What about it just never goes away. Black people beat my ass. They beat my son's ass. Somebody smashed a cookie in my son's face and said, your mother is a bitch. People send me hateful Instagrams. Aren't you dead yet? I love Will. Why don't you just die? It was hard. It was hard.
Humans say some nasty shit.
Before he left this earth, and you lost your dad. That I would clear my name because it's his name. My family said you ruined our name. But you're the big star, I'm just a little black bitch. I just need some water.
Come on. Let's pause for some water. Okay, now listen. Come back to the water. All right, check this out. And I'm stopping it so that I don't lose the points that I want to make sure and communicate as we go through this. But so did you hear the subjective terminology? There was a lot of it in the conversation. And I point that out because that the S in shitty, remember I talk about shitty thinking. If anybody has watched my videos and they know what I talk about, what the primitive brain does is gear your mind towards shitty thinking. Shitty is subjective, harsh, intense, terrorizing to yourself. Why do I say to yourself? Because your thoughts actually generate the emotions that your amygdala gives you, proportional to what you're telling yourself. And then they also give you that signal inside of your body and how you feel about a thing. And unfortunately, humans are semi-delusional creatures. We have this strange tendency of treating our version of reality as if it is the reality. So when we're feeling those powerful feelings, we treat them and how we're thinking about things at the moment as fact, when in fact, none of us actually have a full grasp of the entire experience unless we actually use empathy to ask more questions, gain more understanding, listen more effectively, and actually hear where we ourselves are contributing to the shitty situation, the primitive circumstances that's about to pop off because of how we talk. So when you use subjective language like, she said, you took that all away. She was really accusatory. I agree, like in the way that she presented that, but she's speaking her version of reality. And I actually really respect that Will sat there, and he's going to talk about this a little bit later. He actually sat there and let her express her truth, her version of reality, without arguing with her, interrupting her, or trying to point out the places where he probably would say, well, no, hold on, you remember how you actually were doing this, or you did do that? Because through Will's interpretation of the situation, which was very different, him as a young man and what he was dealing with at the time, there probably were many places where those labels that she talked about that she was given were coming from some of the behaviors that she did without realizing how she was impacting the environment around her. And then the environment responds to you. So please remember that there is no such thing as you ain't do nothing. That ain't how it fucking works. Okay? It's just not how it works. You did something. You always doing something. Even when you're sitting still asleep, you are doing something. That is how humans work. And so we have this weird tendency to have that blind spot. And in the moment, especially, we're not realizing how impactful our silence is, how impactful our mood is, and how much of us is invisibly communicated and affecting other people in our life without our full recognition. So come on here to Janet and to Will for doing this kind of emotional work.
Yeah, I do.
It brings out the tears. I'm glad they cried a little bit. That's healthy. You need to cry this shit out.
It's just heavy. It's just heavy, you know.
That's that invisible feeling of emotions.
My body, it's like my body's shaking a little. It's like I'm trying to put some logic to it, but the sensation I feel
causes the sensations, anxiety.
Who I want to be.
Your biochemical matrix, cortisol, adrenaline.
How I want to make people feel. My whole life and career is centered on aggressively trying to make people feel the opposite of that.
You're addicted to the laugh.
So Come on. You've gone to an interesting place. I don't want other people to feel this way. And she's, but let's just stay for 1 minute with your feeling, okay? Just give me
I'm so glad she's there.
Come on. That's a lot to have come at you. I felt it. I felt that energy. I'm not you, okay? And part of listening is giving yourself space to process your own emotion when someone's coming at you like that. So let's take a moment there. How are you feeling?
So it's my father.
He didn't answer the question, by the way.
Violent in my house.
See that diversion?
So a part of the whole creation of Will Smith, the joking, fun, silly, was to make sure that my father was entertained enough not to hurt my mother or anybody in the house.
Okay.
Right? So that plucked a childhood space of inadequacy. And when someone comes at me like that, the little boy is fully in that space. And I would perform and dance and tell jokes.
Okay. All right.
Right? People laughing and people having fun was my defense mechanism. I realized the other side of it was if I cut you bad enough, you wouldn't be able to respond.
Okay. So, but people laughing for you then is safety.
Laughing is safety.
Dad was laughing.
If he was laughing,
Dad wasn't lashing out.
He wasn't hitting my mother.
Okay.
Right.
I can imagine on the set of Fresh Prince 30 years ago, you just kept cracking the jokes more and more and more.
Yes. It's like Janet was Juilliard trained. Janet can sing. She can dance. She can act. She's brilliant. And she was in the parental figure.
What emotion do you think he's
so
feeling
my
in
little
that
boy
space?
Desperately needed her approval.
Okay. But the dynamic you described with Dad was also, it was not just approval, but it was how do I keep myself safe?
Keep myself
You had a
safe.
harder game to play.
Yes,
Okay?
absolutely.
And so you were balancing both of those here. I need to feel safe and I need the approval, but there were other people. This is your real family. But all those wounds were getting triggered. And so you weren't able to be your best self.
It's really interesting. I just noticed now in this moment that I fell right back into my family dynamic with my television family.
Come on,
that
mirror neurons.
And I was playing and I was laughing and I needed everybody to be joyful so I could feel safe.
That's right. So now we're understanding how you feel. But
let me pause it right here just for a moment. I want to point out mirror neurons. This is why I say we have to learn the 6+1 brain systems, 6 primitive brain systems, and the one brain that rules them all, your prefrontal cortex, this part right here. Your mirror neurons are a part of your brain that will trigger regurgitated behavioral patterns when you are under stress, when your amygdala is intensely providing input, when the gas gets stepped on and you feel triggered, and you feel those emotions rev up, your mirror neurons kick in and you will go into behavior patterns that have been programmed deeply in you from your youth. Everyone is affected by their youth. Everyone is programmed by the experiences that we have in our youth. We all have adverse childhood events because we're growing up in this damn world, and how could you not? So the point is that we, without knowing our emotions, without fully understanding them, I want you to understand, without understanding this primitive brain that will have you thinking and behaving in a shitty way, you will attribute your responses to what the other person is doing instead of recognizing how much of what's happening in the moment is being driven by your past and the stuff that you have not dealt with. Let's carry on.
So there's a lot of hurt there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of resentment there. Yeah. Did you feel hurt?
Oh God, yes, absolutely. I felt threatened.
Mind you, all of this is happening without any blows being exchanged.
At that point in my career, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air really saved my life, right? So I had a few years in the music business, but I had lost all my money. I didn't pay taxes. I was in debt to the IRS. I had just flopped an album, you know, and the Fresh Prince represented life.
Right.
So on the little boy in me level with Janet, I needed mommy to think I was great. And then once I realized that she didn't, my dragon woke up.
Okay, you become that little boy in any system that feels like a family. You've got to stay on top of that.
Yeah, I just realized, like, oh shoot, that was the family dynamic again.
Your trauma cycles
so that's the trigger, and we feel it in here in the problems. We feel it physically, so it feels as real as though we were 4 years old.
Come on, Pop. Wait, hold on.
And that's what gets turned on. So the question is, how do you respond to that?
Wait, let me just highlight what she said. We feel it physically, and it's so powerful. Your physical body, your biology is creating impulses that are so powerful that you don't know that they're driving you, but they are, and they will be until you learn how to self-regulate these internal systems. The physical aspect is really important, and your non-physical self, the part of you that you can't see, is bigger than what you believe you are physically. I needed to put that in there. All right, keep it going.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with me. That's new information for me. Like, I didn't know that.
We all need some new information.
21 years old.
Yeah.
And as asleep and unconscious as a human being could possibly be. And it's so obvious looking with these eyes, everything was a threat to me.
Why was I a threat?
Not you, the world. I had a dream, and I was a scared little boy. The reason I got into the business, everything I was trying to do, like, I was so driven by fear and jokes and comedy and all of that.
Yeah, you were.
Was how
you were live.
I just swear my 21-year-old eyes could only see that I felt like you hated me.
I hated what you did. I just hated what you did. You took my career away of 30-something years. You just went too far when you were younger. And I know you always had to win.
I didn't realize the power
of your words,
of my words, and what that would, you know, how that would affect you, and went way too far and said things to people that wouldn't know how to hold that information. And then once you put it in, then the machine grabs it, then they start putting their own spin on it. It was all way too far on my end. When I look back now, it's, you know, it's obvious that you were having a hard time. I have children.
Yeah.
I've been divorced and got a second marriage, and
same.
You know, so it's like I can see now the level of pain and the level of struggle that it was for you just to show up every day.
Put some words to it, validate it. Thank you.
But you get tired of fighting.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight. You know that Tina Turner song?
Yeah.
I don't really want to fight no more. It's time for letting go.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. My heart is just tired. I'm so tired from all of this.
Yeah. We're addicted to the fight.
30 years of shunning closure, forgiveness, move forward, stop them from all the chatter. Enough. I've served a 30-year life sentence.
I've served a 30-year life
the person
sentence.
I want to be.
Think about how painful that statement is to feel that that's
protects
to interpret
you,
this in that
not
way.
someone that unleashes dogs on you.
I appreciate that. I'm bitten to death.
I could not do a 30-year celebration of this show
I was happy.
and not celebrate you.
Yeah.
Celebrate your contribution to the show. Celebrate your contribution to my life.
Yeah, because she was everybody's Aunt Viv. Aunt Viv was dope. Okay. So before I do want to play some of his processing of this moment.
You still feel like
like I'm little?
Yeah.
We all, that inner child.
Still my Aunt Viv.
So weird. Okay. You know, we've said such hateful things about each other.
Such hateful things. Okay. Listen, check this out. Y'all. What I love about this space that we're in the world today is that we're starting to actually have a reckoning with trauma. And it is such a pervasive experience in this world that we didn't even we haven't even acknowledged that it's there. But it's there. It's just point blank period. You live long enough in this world, damn it, you're gonna have trauma. You've had it, you're having it, and it is to come. We will not have a world that is completely free of trauma, but we can learn the skill set and the understanding of what it does to our brain, what it does to our body, what it does to our spirit, and how do we heal ourselves? How do we make sure that we are processing things in a healthy way? So before they finish this part of the interview, I want to say that I hope that they continue to talk, and I hope that Miss Janet goes to therapy, because I really do hear still a lot of really, really painful words and really painful interpretation of her trauma. Now, mind you, not to minimize it all, because it's hard to capture in a sentence what this lady went through. I mean, clearly she's pregnant, she's getting abused at home, she's feeling shut out in her job, and like everybody is out to get her. Nobody wants to follow the professionalism because he's throwing parties. And I'm sure that there's this element of like, what are we doing here? And then to offer her a 2-month contract where she can't work anywhere else and she has bills to pay. She lost her ability to get jobs in the future because of this feud. And of course, with people loving Will and his star rising, everybody, I know for me, I'm like, who can't get along with Will Smith? Then over the years, of course, Will has even talked more about how his own behavior has gotten in the way of his goals with his wife, his children, and you know, so many other things. So I appreciate the transparency, getting to know the Smith family. That gives us the context to say all of us have these triggers and these inner child that is surrounded by a trauma persona. And we think it's our personality. We just think that's how we are. Well, thank God it ain't just how you are. It's your programming, and your brain systems are programmed to respond certain ways under certain circumstances. And what you tell yourself about anything is incredibly important, because it's creative in your body, it's creative in the other person's mind and body, and it is creative in this matrix that we live in, that we do sometimes create our own nightmares, our own worst traumas, because we empower the version of things that is painful and that is paranoid and that is fearful. So let's move on, because I love the way that Will dives into how his childhood affected his responses, and that's really a lot of fruit there.
I'm sorry.
Say you sorry. Thank you. Damn it. And say for what? Don't just say you're sorry. Say for what.
I appreciate you.
How it made that other person feel, and what you plan to do to continue to
my own red table talk.
to continue to mend the wound.
I forgot I said that.
There was something that really hit me there, is that I see the hurt of two people there, okay? But you didn't defend yourself. You definitely said, listen, this was the story.
And that's hard when
was
somebody's
young,
saying
but
something.
you kept bringing it back to
and they're saying, making accusations,
you kept
ruined my
acknowledging
career.
your role in it instead of just selling your narrative, right? Because otherwise it becomes two feuding narratives.
Yes, absolutely.
Two feuding amygdalas.
I'm not arrogant enough to think that my actions and behavior were perfect.
Yes, correct.
My actions and behavior were
perfect,
flawed,
imperfect,
and hurtful. Probably there's nobody on earth that would say I hurt them that bad.
And so the idea of the dragon, did you even know you had that dragon in you at 21?
No recognition of that dynamic whatsoever. At 21, I was trying to be the biggest star in the world.
Right.
I was doing an album, a movie, and a TV show every year.
Why did you want to be the biggest star in the world?
The same little boy. That same thing. It was like I had a girlfriend who had cheated on me.
Trauma.
Right before that, and everything in my creation and design of Will Smith was to be loved and to be safe.
Right. See, that's
protect myself from trauma.
Were you hurt by Janet all those years ago? And you went right to, I was threatened.
I was threatened. Yeah, I felt like,
and I wonder how much for you threatened and hurt are experienced the same way.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
when
they
I
are.
feel it in my body. My father was military, so I don't know if it's my actual constitution or if it's learned.
It's learned,
but
it's programmed.
Safety is
in
first.
your biology.
And safety also extends to money.
Interesting. Why is that?
Well, if you have money, my 21-year-old mind, women won't cheat on you.
Oh, okay. So it's one more place to you're trying to find all these outside ways to protect yourself.
To protect myself, right? So if I'm rich and if I'm famous and if I'm the best, then mommy and daddy won't be mad.
Interesting. Okay.
Everybody will be safe and I can't get hurt.
Okay. So you now understand that to be a key element of your psychology. Remember this, Will. Safety is the most elemental need a human being has other than food, air, and water. Okay? We need safety. You got robbed of some of that. That's not how a child's life should be. Safety should be built into the model.
That kind of disapproval is the central greatest pain in my life. And from women.
Gotcha.
Female disapproval, because I think because of my dynamic with my mother is, as a little boy, my father beat my mother and I couldn't protect her.
Right.
Female disapproval is unbearable and my body can't handle it.
Well, I'm hearing that female disapproval is the loss of love.
Absolutely.
And that's catastrophic, right? What in your life continues to trigger that unsafe feeling? Because that's your wound, Will. That's your wound.
Absolutely my central wound. In the last 3 years, I've been seeing it and confronting it more effectively. My relationship with Willow has been a major part of healing. Willow's the only female relationship I've ever had that I didn't mess up.
That's beautiful. I mean, feel that about your daughter.
Right, and I'm sure there are aspects from Willow's point of view. She was saying, no, you messed some stuff up there, but in my mind, I did right by her.
Okay.
My relationship with Jada.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Has your relationship with Jada triggered that lack of safety where you feel like you had to go into that protective mode?
God, yes, absolutely.
Like, do you still have this need to get Jada's approval?
Even this house is called her lake.
Ah,
Right?
interesting. Why did you name it that?
Because I wanted it to be a gift to Jada for her approval. Of course, that was a psychological crash and burn also.
It always is.
Jada talked about how that did not go over well.
Success is a suit of armor. We put it on to protect ourselves from ourselves and from the world. Because really the win would be if this house was called Our Lake.
Yeah, exactly. And what I have realized, the real thing that everybody is looking for is the experience of love. And that can be in any house and however much money and all of that, and we don't believe that.
Because as you say that, you talk about money, and a lot of people thinking like, oh, if I can only give him the right gift, if I could show my old man I made it, whatever it is.
But I have, firsthand comprehension that there's not enough money to make your relationship go right.
That's right. That's right. You do get that. Okay. But you remember, safety is an inside game. Will. Like Jada can't make you feel safe. Will can't make you. It has to be your sense of safety. There's a point at which you got to put the load down. Like you have to say, I understand where the wounds come from. Now the wounds are mine. So you let go. In some ways, you sort of start letting go of dad, start letting go of mom, and you realize that these become triggers, but that you are the only person who can regulate those feelings. That's it. Here's the thing.
Boom. Okay, let me pause right there just for a minute. Amen to safety is a inside game. Okay, hold on. Let's go back to it again. NECA, I see you, sis. Safety is a inside game. And let me break that down even further, that safety is not just physical safety. And I think that we have long neglected this concept that the only safety that we have to really pay attention to is the physical body. Like, I'm not touching you, so, I'm not hurting you. Incorrect. Incorrect. And to be honest, even those of us who might have grown up under the best of circumstances with, parents in the household and a village that cares for us, I guarantee you, when you understand what I teach about how we are spiritual beings, having a human experience driven by this biology, interpreted through this brain and transmitted into this space and creating all here together, when you really fully understand the dynamic of how this world is even being driven right now, there is so much psychological pain happening simply because it's invisible. And we like to act like shit that's invisible doesn't exist. That's how humans get down right now. If it's a virus that we can't see, we like to pretend that shit disappeared when we're tired of it. That's not how it works. If it's a insult that I don't see and I don't feel after I throw that across the table, now you don't have to be cussing people out to be slapping them. Matter of fact, we do it on a regular basis, and we know it because the other person usually reacts, pow, and they have some outward expression of it, or some people have learned to keep a straight face so you never actually see the pain that you cause, or the pain that how you are contributing to the circumstances. So the most important thing that you can do is rip your eyeballs off of everybody else and stop judging everybody and start working on this right here. Because this right here, ooh, yeah, you look so cute with your mouth. You got to wrestle yourself. All of us have to learn a different way of talking and controlling those powerful urges that well up inside of us, because when you don't know your biology, it will just be driving the bus for you. And then you will just be looking crazy. Let's finish
most
this up.
people's childhood wounds, it's that they weren't listened to.
Absolutely.
You got to this place where you could listen a 30-year journey.
So much
to where
invalidation.
you could finally listen.
Death by a
You be the
thousand
psychologist
cuts.
for a minute.
Invalidation
What do you think are the
is
three
traumatic.
most important parts of
Because,
listening?
love you. Thank you.
I think the major part is let them complete their story. No debate. There's no D in love.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
No debate. You're just going to listen thoroughly to what their story is. It seems really simple, but it's huge. You've got to ask questions about the other person's story. I would say that's number one.
Using my love skill.
The thing
That's
that
all right. I'm
Jada
gonna teach
and
it.
I have that is really magical is after they tell you the story, it's still not your turn. Repeat it back.
That's fantastic. Yes.
And then validate the part that's true. Wow, that must feel terrible. I understand.
And it's just really about never gaslighting someone else's story. Their story's their story. It's real. It's serving a function for them.
Absolutely.
Let them have it.
Yeah.
Let them share it. You can receive it.
Yeah.
It's not a threat to you. And if it is a threat to you, then you need to go do you
Do
and
your
get
work.
your house in order.
Exactly. That is so real.
I'm actually about to say something very idiotic. I was going to say, are you familiar with Muhammad Ali? Of course.
No,
Sorry about
never
that.
heard
I
of
have to do
it.
this with my patients. And I was like, you're familiar with Muhammad Ali? Okay, you're familiar with Muhammad Ali.
Girl, you
That
don't
man,
have no idea.
I was just going to say, yes, you are, sir. So he knew how to take a punch.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you did with Janet was you took psychological punches, one after the other, okay? And that capacity was something Ali had to cultivate, right? Lean back on the ropes. And in some ways that would exhaust his opponent. But in this case, it helped her release her pain. But we know how Ali trained. I need to know how Will Smith trained to learn how to take a psychological punch.
So the first thing is recognizing that the perception of it as a punch is not real.
Okay, good for you. Because
You can regulate your own somatic sensory
like that's
cortex.
big.
What's actually happening
Come on, Will.
is someone you care about is hurt and they're trying to figure out
I hear you,
how to
cuz.
feel better. A person has been injured and they're desperately seeking some hint of loving kindness, right? So
we all just
there was no
want unconditional
actually
love,
happening.
and we haven't experienced it
And the
yet.
second part is the recognition that it's not my turn yet.
Right.
This is Janet's turn.
That's the hard part for people. Because
that
Janet
amygdala
asked you
is impulsive.
You know, she asked you for your why. And instead of using that as an opening to talk about, I was a kid, I was this, I was that, whatever, you didn't do that. You sent it back to her. I'm holding space here for you. I want you to share. I want to hear from you. I want to understand.
I've learned through marriage counseling, through parenting, through thousands of hours of therapy.
Yes.
The other person always goes
Talk it out.
right? Seek first to understand and then to be understood. And I made my little phrase, love is LUV. Listen, understand, validate the parts that you agree with.
Okay.
You're dead. If you try to go first when someone's in an emotional space. So I have trained myself and I have the firm belief that you have to be able to withstand someone else's truth.
That's the punch.
Yes, absolutely.
And the key there is that when you can hold space and bear witness, two less hurt people are going back out into the world and less likely to do more damage themselves.
Absolutely.
That right there
First to understand and then be understood.
Thank you for opening up. I actually appreciate your vulnerability today. Thank you.
Round of applause. You can't do that in a therapy session, but I do.
I'm trying to just get comfortable in that space. I trust that that's where the kind of connection and the kind of love that I want to experience in this lifetime. I know it doesn't come from me defending this phantom character.
No, it doesn't.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Janet. Thank you. I'll text you in a minute. Thank you, Jada, for letting me take over the red table for a little while. This is fantastic. You know, I think I might start doing this more often.
I think I might start doing it too. Okay, so first of all, thank you all for joining me. Thank you. If you didn't catch this live, this will be on my YouTube channel. It'll also be on Facebook, and we'll put clips on IG. But at the end of the day, what it really boils down to is that we all have work to do. Every single one of us has work to do. And your work has to be internal. It's an inner ground heel road. That's what it is. That's what I call it. You can't fix other people. The only thing you have control over is you. But we spend a lot of time wanting the people in our life to apologize, to understand us, to validate us, to heal us by acknowledging the pain that we've been through. And I got news for you. That shit may not happen. This may not happen. Because damaged people damage people. Hurt people hurt people. We've heard it all the time, and it's very true. And the way that you can heal is to learn how to recognize that you do have control over that intense emotional response inside of you. So just in this episode, and I could go into more, but of course we long on time, so I'm gonna stop. But just in this episode, we talked about how the amygdala was driving both of their emotional reactions. The somatosensory cortex, all of the pain. Think about the word pain and how many times that word was referenced. That's not in your imagination. That's in your freaking body. Wow, you're feeling those feelings inside because they're real. And we have operated in a society that has literally ignored pain and learned to that it made it so that it's so much a part of our environment that people can't recognize the toxic impact that it's having on our entire species, our entire race, because there's only one race with a bunch of different ethnicities and cultures, but all of our brains and all of our bodies work pretty much the same. The mirror neurons that people go into and fall into, those knee-jerk reflexive behavioral patterns that we don't even like, but that come out as a response to how we've been programmed to interpret things and to respond under intense emotions. That's coming from your biology, and you are capable of identifying and correcting it. Even your biochemical matrix, the sixth system that I talk about, adrenaline, cortisol, all kinds of chemicals were rocking and rolling. Back when Will was a 21-year-old hotshot rapper, there was probably some other things flowing too, testosterone, external substances, who knows, like people was kicking it. Point being that there's all of these juices that get in our body and that extend and expand and make more extreme the experience that we have on the inside of it. The shaking, the sweating, the all of the uncomfortable sensations, they come as a product of us, not the other person. And the other person is not who's creating that for you, how you're interpreting them, what you're thinking about them, how you are judging and misjudging them is creating the experience that you feel in your body. The bottom line is humans are primitive and we don't know shit about our bodies. So we don't understand what's going on. And we looking around like everybody is crazy. Are y'all saying, do y'all look at the news like this? Like, yeah, no, nobody see that? No, nobody see this mass psychosis, this delusional state, semi-delusional state that so many of us walk in? Nobody? No? Okay, all right. I'm gonna just go back and keep on making videos. All right, y'all, but that's it. I'm wrapping up. I hope you enjoyed this. I see your comments. I'll respond to more of them as we go. But this is an example of what I do and how I will teach and educate you about your brain, body, behavior, and how trauma affects all of us. And no, you cannot be my patient because I don't take care of patients anymore, because I take care of people, and I do that by education only. And that education is available to you through signing up for a membership on the Dr. Alauna Trauma Recovery Institute. And in the Dr. Alauna Trauma Recovery Institute, you will have access to my best courses and the best information that I can provide you to learn and understand about how to control your own emotions, find your own traumas, and be able to improve your outcomes in life with other people. So join the love evolution. Please share this video if this blessed you at all. If somebody know Will, tell Will, holler at me. I'll come be an expert on Red Table and break it down for you even more, because this is really essential knowledge that we need to give to humanity in order for us to heal. So I love you unconditionally. I don't like you. Well, I might like some of you, but I don't like what's going on right now. I gotta admit. But I absolutely love every single person on earth, because we are connected. We are connected whether we like it or not. And we win together. So we got to get better together. Love you. Good night.